Hello and welcome to another episode of Will Weekly. Today we're doing a special sports edition of the show. And on the show today I have my cousin Eddie Castro. Eddie, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we're talking about the Knicks today. They're having a really rough season. A lot of people expected them to have a better season. And now there's a lot of people talking about, should they trade Melo? Should he try to get out of his contract to go to another team? What do you think so far, cousin? What do you think? Should he try to move to another team so he has a better chance of winning a championship?
Well, you have to look at the pros and cons about this current situation that they have in New York. Carmelo Anthony, he's a 32-year-old player with a lot of mileage on his body, and he has a no trade clause. So if he does go to another team, it would have to be a team of his desire that would get him closer to that NBA championship.
Right, but considering what's out there, the market right now, what could the Knicks really get back? A lot of people are talking about maybe Blake Griffin could come to the Knicks. Do you really see a team giving up another good player in exchange for Melo right now? What do you think is the best situation for the Knicks?
There's been a lot of rumors floating around about the Knicks as far as who will be a better potential suitor for them as far as the value they'll get back from Carmelo Anthony. One trade that we heard about was a 3-team trade involving the Lakers and a question mark of a team where the Knicks will get back young Brandon Ingram, Jordan Clarkson, and Julius Randle, and Carmelo Anthony would get shipped to the Clippers, and Blake Griffin will be in a Laker uniform. So that's another interesting scenario that could happen.
So wait, it's kind of like a 3-team deal, you're saying, where the Lakers would give up 3 players for Melo, but then I don't get that. Who would go to the Clippers? I'm not sure.
The Clippers will get compensation draft picks, which will be included a couple of first-round draft picks, which they will need just in the case where Chris Paul, who can be an unrestricted free agent after this year, he can opt out of his current contract. So if Griffin were to leave and Paul were to leave, at least the Clippers will have some first-round draft picks that they can build on.
Okay. Now, some people are just talking about, like, let's say a swap for Blake Griffin for Melo. Do you think that would be a good trade for the Knicks if that happened?
Well, as far as bringing excitement to the Garden, yeah. I mean, we'll probably have another Linsanity scenario as far as Blake Griffin and the excitement that he brings to a basketball team. But you're basically almost trading the same sort of player. They both play the same position. Blake Griffin is more polished as far as his inside post games. And as far as shooting-wise, Carmelo Anthony may have the edge on that. So it's give or take as far as those two players in a swap.
I agree. Well, there's a pros and cons to that. I could definitely see that trade happening because there's players with kind of similar value, but Griffin is a lot younger, and he still has a lot more years ahead of him. The problem with him is that he is so injury prone. He's been so injury prone the last couple of years that for the Knicks, I really wouldn't like that trade so much. And on top of that, he's shown that he's not really the leader of the Clippers. He hasn't shown that he has that leadership qualities. So far, if the Clippers have had any success in the last couple of years, is because of Chris Paul. So if Griffin comes to the Knicks, I'm not sure how that's gonna turn into wins, or if that's gonna turn into wins, or if he's gonna be able to help the Knicks become a winning team. Do you think, let's say if Griffin were to come to the Knicks, do you think that would change the culture in New York?
Well, you gotta look at one thing too. If that trade were to happen, you're looking at Blake Griffin potentially in the front corner with Kristaps Porzingis. Both have exceptional length as far as defensive goes, but I'm not sure that combination of Porzingis and Griffin would necessarily work in the system that Jeff Hornacek is trying to run.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to see how those two would play together. I think the good thing about that would be that right now Porzingis is playing with a player that really dominates the ball in Carmelo Anthony, and he doesn't really get as many touches as maybe as he could, whereas Griffin is a little bit more passive, and I think it would open up more shot opportunities for Kristaps Porzingis to really blossom, to really show what he really has. So that's just in the event that Melo decides to opt out of his no trade clause. Do you really see that happening for Melo?
I personally don't see it happening. I think it's a situation in New York where it does need to happen. Carmelo Anthony is one of those prolific scorers that comes once every 10 years. So, of course, you want one of the perennial scorers in the league to be able to win those championships. I just don't think it's going to happen in New York.
I don't think it's going to happen in New York for him. I do want him to stay with the Knicks because right now in today's NBA market, I just don't see the Knicks getting a player of that caliber in exchange for Carmelo. He's 32 years old. He's still averaging a 22 points a game, almost 23 points a game with almost 7 rebounds a game. He's still a solid player, and I just don't think the Knicks could get that kind of player back in this NBA market.